Landed in France. Did you have any temporary housing?
No, they just sent us to just a quick a tent camp somewhere close to the English Channel. I don't know just where it was. But then we did go on from there on to Kaiserslautern, Germany, and they had us bivouac in the old SS troop barracks. And we spent about 2 weeks there. We made a trip back to Aachen, Germany to pick up bridge, treadways, and pontoons, and equipment like that. Got back. We finally, the second time trip, the company had left. We had to finally catch up with them.
Did you see any combat immediately after landing?
No.
Okay. Was there any prolonged training period as when you landed?
No.
Okay.
No, we'd already been through that.
Okay.
But now they did, after the war ended, they had us had part of the company going up on a river somewhere and putting this bridge together and taking it down. You just kept a hand in on that.
Okay. So what kind of equipment and arms did you train with?
Well, I had a little bit of everything. I've driven 10-ton wreckers and those big Brockway bridge trucks and stuff like that. I even had to put a Caterpillar tractor back together in Georgia after they sent it over to have a new clutch put in it. They tore it down and got shipping orders. We had to get the thing, bring it back, and they asked me if I could put that thing back together. I said, just give me a good wrecker operator and a crane operator, and I'll put it together. And I did. We got that thing back together and going again.
So, if you can, give me an idea of what happened from the time you landed to your time through Europe. Kind of give me a sequence of events.
Oh, let's see, Lord, we made two stops, I think, in Luxembourg, in that little country, coming through Belgium back, on our way back with this bridge equipment. And then from then on, we were just trying to catch up with the company. We finally caught them. And we were driving down the Autobahn one day, and the guy I was with, driving the truck, I looked at him up on the road. I said, this doggone war's got to be over. I got to that thing with the other side of the Autobahn was packed plumb full with both lanes of it, all the way as far as you could see. The guys walking and Germans were walking back. And I said, and it was. So we caught up and we found out the war had ended. So we looked up pretty good on that.
What was life like in Europe where you were staying? Just your normal everyday routines. Did you have good food?
What we were used to is just everyday a mess call and stuff like that. One guy, he decided to clean his rifle. He just pointed it out the window and fired a shot through it. Said, let's just clean, it's ready to go.
Was it possible to live similarly as you did back in the States? Were you able to clean up pretty well? Were you able to eat well? Things like that? Like, were you able to take showers, eat hot food, things like that?
They had overseas, they had transit mess halls. When we were traveling, we'd stop at them. And then they had showers we could go to. It was just temporary things put up for a shower, but at least you got clean and things like that.
Were you ever promoted during your service time?
Yeah, I came to Camp Camel as staff sergeant. But I'd get in trouble when I get a little mouthy once in a while. They'd bust me down to something else. I had to work my way back up.
Did you ever have a sense of the big picture of what was going on in Europe at the time? Did you understand the different things that were going on around you?
Yeah, so pretty much of it. Okay. I was lucky and didn't have to go through Dachau and places like this, those prison camps. We missed that. That was another experience for the guys that got to that. Now we left New York from Camp Shanks, going over and came back to the same place. I got to see the Statue of Liberty, and we come sailing back by that. And as we were sailing up the Hudson River, every steam whistle I think on that river was blowing. And we found out that the war had ended in Japan. Well, they shipped us back for a 30-day R&R to go to the Pacific, but I didn't have to go. The war ended just before we pulled into the harbor, into the entrance of the harbor in New York.
So once you came back to the States, what did you do post-service?
Well, the first thing they did, they sent us to Atlanta, to a camp. What the heck name of that place, Joe?
It'd be McPherson or Gillum.
Hmm?
Gillum? Fort Gillum?
No, I can't think. Anyway, it's camp in Atlanta, Georgia. And we had 2 weeks there. They forgot about us, I think, and they just left us alone. We had made a trip into Atlanta every night. So it's about 3 of us had us a good time. And then one of the guys got anxious. He wanted to go back to Texas. Well, he got after them. They loaded us up there and shipped us to Camp Swift, Texas. And that's where they decided, well, I'd already had 30 days. Well, I didn't have anything to do with just take another 30. So I did. Got on the train, just the train was pulling out. Here come a Jeep. And I found out they just sent the Jeep over to get me, to take me to the separation center. Well, I spent another 30 days in the Army that I didn't need to, but I didn't know about it. So when I got back, that's the first thing they did, sent me to the separation center. I got through that and I went back, and the CO was on leave, and the motor sergeant, motor officer that I'd rode quite a lot of miles in Europe with a truck with him, he happened to be acting CO. And I walked in there with my little duck sewed on my jacket, and I put a chair up and I popped my feet up on the CO's desk. I said, I've always wanted to do this. He said, well, make yourself at home. So I didn't. I caught the train back to here after that, and then I went back to work at Camp Camel as a mechanic, doing the same thing as doing in the Army. And I was working there as a civilian when they changed it from camp to Fort Camel. And these people around here, a lot of these egotistical guys, don't want to hear the name Camp Camel. They think it's downgraded or something. If it hadn't been for Camp Camel, they wouldn't have been at Fort Camel. They don't realize that. Or at least they don't want anybody to know it. I stayed there. I retired from the government service from Fort Campbell. That was 1975, wasn't it, Joe?
Mm-hmm.
Well, are there any particular memories that you have from being in Europe that kind of in your mind play out as something very important to you during that time period?
No, not really. I still have problems getting away from camp at night. In my sleep, I get dreaming about being back in that motor pool. And but Now, I spent 24 years as a flight instructor at Outlaw Field out here too. So there are, as far as I know, there are only 2 of us old-time commercial pilots from Outlaw Field left.
What did that entail? Your time at Outlaw Field, what did that entail? What was that like?
Oh, I did a lot. That's the reason I can't hear, I think. I spent that much time, a lot of time flying with students, you know, up and down, pressure changing my ears. And yeah, now every once in a while my ears will pop and I can hear it just as good as any time. Then they plug back up. But I'm having trouble with that. That's about the only thing.
Okay.
No, there was 3 of us old commercial pilots left, and one of them died here about 3 weeks ago, wasn't it, Joe? Something like that.
Okay.